Emily, even though we're IT professionals and we think about security from a technology point of view, there are times when we have to think about the physical security of our offices, of our data closets, of our server rooms, and we're going to talk about some of the physical security options in this lesson. After completing this lesson, you will be able to discuss the benefits of door access control, Cipher locks, and Mantraps, explain the use of a key fob, define biometrics, and discuss the use of video cameras and security guards. So in this very short lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the physical security measures you can take to protect your network. Because the most advanced encryption, authentication, and protection strategies that you can implement in the network itself are completely useless if an intruder can walk in and pick up a backup drive, or plug an infected flash drive into the server, or connect a packet sniffer into the router or into a switch, or sit down at an unprotected console and change settings. So let's look at some physical things we can employ to protect our network infrastructure. We'll start with the simple network closet. In small offices or in departments of larger offices, you'll find network closets. Network closets are the small rooms where networking equipment lives. In a lot of organizations, they don't think twice about what's inside the network closet, how secure is the network closet, what would happen if someone got access to the network closet. But there are some things you should think about. For starters, how do you secure the network closet? Does it have a regular lock? Does it have a biometric lock? Does it have an electronic lock? We're going to take a look at some of those lock options here in just a minute. Something else to think about is who has access to the network closets and can they be shared? In a lot of organizations where space is at a premium, an empty closet that has maybe one switch or a couple of switches and is mostly empty is kind of prime real estate. And you may get people who want to use it for storage, or they may want to use it to put some materials there or whatever. But if other people have access to that closet, let's say it's also used for office supplies, then you run into a situation where the number of people who have access to that network equipment is much, much larger. This is an additional risk for the network. It also means that if something happens and you're trying to determine who caused a problem, the number of people that are under suspicion is much, much larger. So the pros may not outweigh the cons in that case. There's a lot of ways we can control access to our doors. Controlling access to network closets and other secure areas could be done with traditional keys, the metal turn them in the lock kind of a key, or Cipher locks, electronic keypads and locks, proximity readers and key fobs, or biometric scanners. Now, traditional keys, hopefully you're familiar with, but let's talk about some of these other ones. A Cipher lock is the device that you see here. It's traditionally a 4 or 5 button programmable keypad. Most of them are not electronic, at least historically they've not been electronic, and most of them are not centrally managed. Basically, it's a lock mechanism that's configured for a code. The code could be 1 to 5 digits, and anyone who knows the code can get access to the room. Now, historically, these have been mechanical. They are moving to more electronic, but they're still rarely centrally managed. They're usually an individual device. A more advanced mechanism is the proximity reader and the key fob. In this mechanism, you have individual key fobs who are assigned to users, and as they approach the door, the proximity reader reads the key fob and allows entry. The key fob itself is a type of security token. It's a small hardware device with built-in authentication mechanisms. You can use them for doors. There's also situations where you would use them to authenticate a computer or to verify your ID at a computer in a multi-factor authentication sort of scenario. Now, biometrics is a growing area. Biometrics authentication uses your personal biological data to verify identity. So this could be things like your fingerprint, your retina, even facial recognition or voice recognition are becoming very popular biometric resources. Now, another security device that we very rarely see is a Mantrap. A Mantrap is also called an airlock or a sally port or an access control vestibule. It's a physical security access control system that basically lets a person into a chamber for verification. The nice thing there is if they're verified, then they proceed through a second door into the secured area. If the verification fails, then they're held in the Mantrap until security can be summoned. So besides being a great extra layer of protection, this is also a great extra layer of intimidation that makes it less likely that someone inappropriate is going to even try to get access to your secured areas. Video monitoring is becoming very commonplace. The cost of video cameras and the ease of installation has made them much more accessible, much more feasible for companies of all sizes nowadays. Video monitoring can supplement access control for both security and compliance purposes. In other words, it can be used to verify identity. It can also be used after the fact to see who it was that accessed a certain area. Traditionally, these have been analog, what are called CCTV-based cameras, but more and more these are being replaced by modern, remotely controlled, monitored IP cameras that often have a pan, tilt, zoom, or PTZ function. And finally, the last physical security measure is the good old-fashioned security guard. Having a real-life person as a security guard or security officer can do a lot of things. They can provide a lot of services that are unavailable in any technological solution. For example, signing up new users, verifying identity, updating records, and that sort of thing. Here's a quick recap of what we've learned in this lesson. Network closets can be locked or otherwise secured to prevent physical access to networking equipment. Cipher locks are 4 or 5 button keypads which require a code to allow entry and can be mechanical or electronic. Key fobs are a small electronic device which facilitates authentication at doors or when accessing equipment. And video monitoring can supplement access control for security and compliance purposes.
So this seems pretty straightforward, but it's definitely something that needs to be considered.
That's true.